What's up guys and welcome. You are watching Fazi Fitness. So let's start this video with the mutant Nick Walker, as he was asked this question regarding Samson Dawda.
Yeah, I can. And I will. 14 weeks.
So unless something unexpected happens at this year's Miss Olympia, majority of the bodybuilding experts and the fans believe that we are most probably gonna have the same top two as last year or the year before that. Hadi Choopan and Derek Lunsford. They are just in a different league compared to all these other guys. Of course, Samson Dawda and Andrew Jacked, they can bring something totally unexpected and just shock the entire bodybuilding world. Samson Dawda can come in peeled out of his mind. But the thing is, that hasn't happened so far. So this upcoming rematch between Samson Dawda and Nick Walker, that is going to be one of the most interesting battles at this year's Miss Olympia. That neo-pro version of Nick Walker, I don't think that is going to be able to beat Samson Dawda, especially if Samson shows up the way he did at this past Arnold UK. And the thing is, Nick Walker and his coach Man Jensen, they also know that. So these guys need to come up with a perfect plan and bring something way improved compared to what we saw at this year's New York Pro. Because the thing is, they're fighting a mass monster who has a great shape, insane flow, and he has some of the best aesthetics out there. And that is a huge plus in favor of Samson. But that being said, Nick Walker also has his own strengths. And you have got to love Nick's confidence, as we all know he isn't afraid about speaking his mind.
Absolutely. I think Derek is beatable. I think anyone's beatable. And I think this will be the year that it happens.
So at this point, the only person that Nick Walker is gonna worry about is the current Arnold Classic champion, the Persian Wolf, Hadi Choopan. And sure, most of the top guys will be hoping that Hadi won't come in as good as he was at this year's Arnold, especially in Columbus. So in this battle between Nick and Samson, and supposedly both these guys bring their absolute best, who is the one who's gonna come out on top? So let me know what you guys think. Let's talk about the Persian Wolf Hadi Choopan. So Hadi is always pushing very impressive amount of weights in the gym. He always trains like an absolute animal. And the fact is, we only get to see a limited portion of his training. So I think it is gonna be such a treat for all of us bodybuilding fans if they do a Battle of the Olympia type video with Hadi Choopan in it. Or maybe just let Hadi Choopan train for an hour and let the camera record everything, like these guys used to do back in the 90s or in the early 2000s. I think that would be epic. So Hadi Choopan is on a mission right now. Nobody would have believed that a 212 bodybuilder would be dominating the men's open division just a few years ago. Let me just take you back to Phil Heath's era. No one would have imagined that Flexois, the 212 champ at that time, he would just switch over to the men's open class and place top 3 in the world. But the thing is, that has been a reality for the last couple of years. Two of these former 212 guys, Hadi Choopan and Derek Lunsford, they are absolutely dominating the men's open class. These guys are the best in the world right now. And Hadi Choopan is entering this year's Miss Olympia as the favorite in many predictions. And not just in terms of challenging Derek Lunsford. Some even think that he's the favorite to win the Olympia this year. And he's gonna create history. So as per Google, Hadi Choopan is turning 37 years old this year, in September. So he has got at least 3 to 4 years, which are gonna be his prime years. And with the kind of mindset and dedication that we have seen from Hadi Choopan, we should expect nothing but great improvements in the future, just as we saw from him at this year's Arnold. And he was able to make those improvements in such a short period of time, from the Olympia to the Arnold. And that was just incredible. Next up is the update from Charles Griffin. So he was a top 10 Olympian from last year's Miss Olympia, but he isn't looking to compete at all this year, which by the way is a good decision by him. Eventually he's gonna need to bring up his chest, especially up to a point, which was before that pec year happened. So before that happened, his chest was one of his strengths. And even though he was able to place top 10 at the Olympia last year, even with a glaring weakness, you just cannot ignore the fact that if guys like Big Ramy, Nick Walker, Rafael Brundle, even William Bonac were there, if these guys were competing in 2023, these placings for a lot of the guys who placed top 10, they would have been surely different. So I don't think anyone should doubt Charles and his ability, because back when he took a season off, and he said that he's gonna come back with a much improved midsection, that looked kinda impossible at that time, because he was fighting something that was totally determined by genetics. But he came back with a vacuum, and that totally changed his front shots. He was able to make such drastic improvements with the implementation of vacuum that his front shots became his strong points. So Charles is a great example of a guy whose physique transformed so much in a positive way after he started implementing those vacuums in the mandatories. So that routine of practicing more vacuum is gonna continue during this entire off-season. So we are gonna see him back on the stage in 2025, hopefully with a fully developed chest. And not just that, I think he's gonna show up with even better legs than last time. Because this entire time when he was taking a break from training his upper half, he was fully focused on his legs. Plus his back is already one of the best in the game. John Jewett also gave us a physique update just about 11 days out of his next show, which is gonna be Van Pro. So Vancouver Pro is next in line after Portugal, which is scheduled this weekend. So John looks exactly how we expect him to look this close to the show. Diced and ripped to the bone. And this look is only gonna get better from here onwards. Because he must be a bit on the flat side here, and it's only gonna get harder and drier as he gets closer to the show. So John was able to make some very impressive gains in this off-season, which started after Legion Sports 2023. Just look at the comparison pictures from Legion, where he made his men's open bodybuilding debut, to his look at this year's Toronto Pro, which was just his second men's open show. And you see a massive difference, and that too every year. So he was able to place second at the Legion Sports, and here in Toronto he was placed third, which could have been second as well. But the thing is, he was up against a guy like Quentin Beastwood, who is 6'2", with unbelievable shape and flow, and he's such a wide guy, he takes so much space on the stage. And even though John Jewett was in a better condition than Quentin Beastwood, but Quentin's shape and the fact that how much ground Quentin was able to cover, especially in this period between the New York Pro and Toronto Pro, that was hard to ignore by the judges. So John is gonna certainly enter this year's Vancouver Pro as the favorite to win this show. Although I'm not sure what is gonna be his next plan. Even if he wins, is he gonna do the Olympia? Or is he gonna go for another off-season to make some more improvements and come back much better next year? So talking about Van Pro, all the eyes are gonna be on the defending champion of Van Pro, Hassan Mustafa, who is looking really vulnerable right now, especially after the way he showed up at this year's Toronto. So basically, Hassan went from placing a very close runner-up against Ian Valier back in 2023. And I'm sure if you guys remember, that was a very close call. And majority of the fans actually had Hassan Mustafa winning that show. So Hassan went from placing second in 2023 to placing sixth in that show just a few weeks ago. And I have to say, it wasn't a look that Hassan should be proud of. But keep in mind, he just needed a few more weeks of dieting and embracing more suffering to get really shredded and peeled. So with a guy like Hassan Mustafa, it is literally impossible to predict which version is gonna show up. But if he comes in looking anything close to what he looked like at the Olympia last year, or Toronto Pro last year, he has so much muscle on his frame, and his muscularity exceeds all of these other guys who are gonna be competing here at Van Pro. I believe Hassan at his best, he's still the favorite to win this show. But the thing is, if he's off, he can place even outside of the top 5, just the way he did at this year's Toronto. So let's see how this year's Van Pro goes. And also hit the thumbs up button if you liked the video. And smash the subscribe button if you wanna come back for more. Thanks for watching.